For those that have never met Prof before, could you tell us a little bit more about him and his character?
Well, Prof is the leader of the Seven Dwarves. In the Disney animated cartoon, he would have been called Doc. So he, in the show that we do, he thinks he's the boss. Imagine Captain Mannering in Dad's Army. You know, he thinks he's in charge, but really he isn't. And he's quite pompous and quite jumped up. And you know, he's still got the brains, but he doesn't always know how to apply them.
And does he have any similarities with any other characters you've played?
You know what? There's a little bit of Professor Flitwick in him, actually. Yeah, there was a little bit of that in him, that slight eccentricity that you find in the character. But yeah, I think that's the closest one.
And it's an odd question, but if you were to cast Ricky Gervais, Stephen Merchant and Carl Pilkington as dwarves, which ones would they be?
Let's think. So Carl, there's no dwarf called Moni, but he'd be dopey, I should imagine. Ricky would be happy. And Stephen, let's think about Stephen. I don't know, he's kind of a bit bashful in a way sometimes. So he could go as bashful, perhaps. Now that I'm painting a weird picture in my head now of this lineup here. It's just the most odd-looking Seven Dwarfs. We've only got 4 so because I'll be in it as well, so we do need 3 more. But yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Who would you have as the other 3?
Let's we could throw Alan Carr in there, I think, somewhere. But what would he be? Oh, he'd be bashful maybe, wouldn't he? So Stephen needs recasting. Who else? Let's stick Ant and Dec in there as well, because they fill 2 together. And they work very well together as well.
That's great.
We've got 7.
What is it like working with Ricky Gervais and Carl on Idiot Abroad 3? Is it quite stressful?
Yeah, I mean, it is quite stressful because you don't know what's happening from one minute to the next. So
I watch it a lot, it makes you quite tense.
You get up one morning and you go off to somewhere and you just don't know what's going to happen, and that causes you a lot of stress and you get exhausted from it. But Carl was grateful to have me along for the trip because he said, normally I have to sort of sit and wonder what's going to happen next on my own, at least I can talk to you about it. Yeah, it was the most enjoyable thing, but the most stressful thing, you know, travelling, seeing the world, doing those things that you'd never do if you went on holiday. You'd never book that sort of thing. But, you know, I've experienced some things that I never thought I would and will never see again, you know.
What was the worst part?
For me, gosh, the
Rabbit head, maybe?
Yeah, I think it's the eating session that we did. Well, Carl was so annoyed that I hadn't got ill on the trip, because all of the rest of the crew and Carl had all got ill, as you do when you go on holiday, you know. But I hadn't, and I was quite careful what I ate, and you just took precautions. But he said, "Oh, I'm sick of this. Come and eat some proper food." So we went to the street market and kind of more or less force-fed me street food, which apparently, though, you know, in light of how awful it looked and what part of animals I was eating, it's in fact one of the safest foods to eat when you're away. You know, eating in a big hotel sometimes is actually more risky than eating food that's freshly cooked like that. But yeah, I don't recommend eating rabbit's heads and pig's lungs and the testicle of something. It wasn't the flavours of these things, just don't get me wrong here. It was when Carl told me what they were. Yeah. It's mind over matter. So, and I would like to say, stop saying what it is. And the minute you said it again, I would be like, but I wasn't actually sick. Just people think I wasn't sick.
I thought it was more retching.
It was retching. That's what was going on.
With the worlds of Star Wars and Harry Potter getting a new series of films, do you think you'll be appearing in them?
I'd like to. I've dropped enough hints to Star Wars about this, you know, to the producer, to the art department who draw characters. I'm saying make sure when you draw them quite small. So we'll see. I'd love to be part of it again, because then I could say at least I was in all 3 trilogies, the classic, prequels, and then the sequels, as they probably will be known. And yeah, the news that J.K. Rowling's actually writing another screenplay to predate Harry Potter, that's quite cool, isn't it?
Yeah, very cool.
That is really cool.
To be hopefully filmed in Harry Potter World, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine it'll be shot in England, because she likes to use English actors and English crew, and, you know, it's the home of Harry Potter, isn't it, really? And of course they've got Leavesden Studios, which has been revamped, so it'd be lovely if it was there.
And you'd like to be a part of that as well?
Of course I would. I mean, I love the films anyway. If I hadn't been anything to do with them, I just think they're just beautifully crafted films. I mean, they're lovely, and you know, I think this film would detail all of the magical creatures. It's all about that sort of thing, isn't it?
Actually, yeah, you said in an episode of Video Abroad how you still remember the spells from Willow. Do you believe in magic?
Yeah, I do. I think we create magic with the things that we do. So I very much do. Absolutely, absolutely.
And do you remember spells like you remember scripts? Do you learn things quite quickly?
I learn things in English quite quickly, but the spells are more difficult because they don't make any sense. You know, you're speaking words that don't, like Lotwar Danalora, Luatha Danu, Tuatha Tuatha Schnox Danu. That's the one I recited to Carl. So things that are in English are easy to remember, but other things, like I had to learn the lyric to Gangnam Style from last year's pantomime that I did, and that's incredibly difficult because it's phonetic Korean and it doesn't make any sense. But now, what's weird, if ever I'm at a party now and they put on Gangnam Style, I sit there mouthing the words and people are like, you know the words to this? I'm like, yeah, I can't help it now, it's stuck in there forevermore. I've got Gangnam Style in my head. That's the sacrifice I made to entertain people.
So that's a good sacrifice, I think.
Is it?
Yeah, I think so. That's a good party trick. You've appeared in many cult franchises over your career.
Yeah.
If you could choose just one to be remembered for, which would it be?
Star Wars, probably. That will be the one that will be remembered long before all the others are forgotten. You know what I mean?
And just one more question. Is there any part you want to play that you haven't played yet? Maybe James Bond, Doctor Who?
I mean, I've ticked off a lot of my ambitions. I wanted to be in Doctor Who. I was. I would like to have been Doctor Who. That would have been nice. But yeah, kind of a spy, a Bond sort of character. You know, have some gadgets and things.
Do you think you'd maybe
I had
make
some
a good
ideas
James Bond
for that.
himself?
Yeah, I had some ideas for that. Well, no, I wouldn't. That's aiming high. That is. I mean, I think a kind of another spy. You know, you got Rowan Atkinson's Johnny English. I think there could be room for a kind of 3'6" spy somewhere.
That
Lots of
sounds very
gadgetry.
interesting.
Yeah, I've had some ideas on that. I wrote a script years ago. I never did anything with it, so maybe time to dust that one off.
I think so. I think that sounds like a great idea.
Super.
I
Thank
definitely
you
be
very
behind
much.
it. Thank you very much, Warwick. It was really
Nice
nice to
one.
meet you.
Pleasure.